Peace everyone, Unmask here. Welcome back to the color pencil tutorial. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Yesterday we did most of the headgear here, leaving this center part blank, and we're going to get started on that right away. I'm not adding any additional colors or anything like that, so all the colors that I introduced yesterday are the same colors I'm using now. And I'm going to start off with the blue color, the 1102. And let's just get right into it. I'm going to do, so one of the features of this, aside from being like a bunch of little circles, is if you look in the center part here, you see this kind of shape that I've left blank. That's where the circles are pretty much just pure white. And so I'm going to work around that shape with these colors here, the blue and the green. And I want to get everything around that shape smooth with the color. And then I'll use some white to lay over top of that blank area just to cover the paper. And as I get these colors smooth, then what we'll do is we'll come back with the black and draw in all of those little circles, which is not the most fun part of the project, but is a necessary part. Hello, Susan, Claire, and Teresa. Good to see you. As usual, if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask away. Tomorrow, just a reminder, tomorrow I'll be doing the live critiques. And also, I just wanted to mention that Chrissy from Exrasart is hosting a self-portrait contest, and I will be judging that contest. You'll see an announcement in her Facebook group, which is Share Your Art with Exrasart. And then you'll see the announcement also in the Unmask Family Facebook group as well, so shouldn't miss it. But she's going to be doing giveaway prizes for that competition, so I just wanted to let everyone know about it. All right, now I'm going to use a little bit of the green. This is the 120. What's this color called? This is the light sap green. Hello, Cherry. Good to see you. Alrighty, I think that's enough color. I want to add just a light layer of white. Pro tip, by the way, when you're applying light colors, yesterday, if you remember, I used this white to add in these last little highlights here. On the tip, you can see that there's some dark black and blue. Anytime you are about to apply your light color on a light surface, you want to make sure that the tip of your pencil is clean. And usually you can just scrape it off with a fingernail or a craft knife or whatever. But you want to make sure you get in the habit of checking the tips of your pencils to make sure that the actual pencil itself is clean, because you apply this to your light surface, and then all of a sudden you have this piece of black or dark color that smears across what should be a light area. And I've done it many times over the years. For instance, doing like a portrait, and all of a sudden I'm using white to like create a highlight on the skin or the cheek or something, and then out of nowhere I just get like this dark colored smeared across the skin of the portrait that I'm working on. Sometimes it's salvageable, sometimes you can sort of fix those mistakes, but I would say more often than not, you end up ruining your picture. So it's a good habit to get into. Just check the tips of your pencils before you apply them to light areas. Obviously, it's not as risky when you're doing dark areas of a picture, but certainly the lighter areas. Okie dokie. Well, I have enough layers down there of those colors, so I'm going to grab my solvent here. I did blend all the black yesterday. I'm going to grab a piece of tissue real quick to clear off my brush, just to make sure I don't do the same thing that I was just describing, but with my paintbrush instead. Oh, hello, Quaria. Hopefully I reasonably pronounced that. All right, let's go ahead and start smoothing out these colors now. And then once this is dry, we'll come back with the black and we'll start putting in all the little circles. I would strongly suggest these blue and green colors that you apply here. I would recommend applying them to cover the paper completely. So after this dries, if I still sort of feel that the paper is showing through, I think I'll do another layer of the blue and green, if that is the case, before applying the black. Just so I don't have to try to fill in the circles after applying the black, because that could be not very fun. Hello, whelp. All right. Got to give that adequate time to dry. Good morning, line. Alrighty. So just like yesterday, you have to give, when you use the solvent, you have to give the paper plenty of time to dry before applying your other colors on top, because otherwise you can very easily damage your paper, and you don't want to do that after spending a considerable amount of time on your project. The last thing you want to do is ruin the paper. So again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, because I just got to sit here for a minute and wait for the paper to dry. Shouldn't take too long. I didn't use a lot of solvent, but I always like to give ample time for the paper to dry. Better safe than sorry. Also, one of the things with the dots and the circles and stuff here, there's quite a few small dots like over in this area, and you can see some smaller dots like sort of down here and down into this corner area here, and even a few like far out over here. Don't feel like you have to work around every teeny tiny little dot, because as we saw yesterday, actually I can even give you an example because I need to add a little bit of highlights. Like right here, watch how well this white shows up. Like you can see the white showing up really well in these highlights, and you can put some of those dots back over top of the black. So you don't have to feel like you have to avoid those areas completely with the black pencil when we start applying it there. The white shows up quite nicely. Alrighty, the paper should be dry. One of the ways you can tell is if you touch it and it's not cold. If you touch where you apply the solvent and the paper feels a little bit colder, then it's still wet. But it feels room temperature, so now I'm going to just start applying my black. And I'd say like majority of the really small dots I'm going to ignore. I'm going to focus right around sort of the bigger area, or the area where the dots are bigger. That's what I mean to say. So sort of just creating the blob-like shape here. So that's sort of this part here. I'll leave blank, and then everything else I'm going to cover up with the black, and then add those small dots after the fact. So it'll take a couple layers of the black to cover up the paper really well. Also, don't forget the #1 rule with colored pencils. Never press harder than what's necessary for the color to show up. I'm not pressing hard at all here, even though I want this part of the headgear to be completely black. There's no need to do it in a single layer. So just getting the color to show up, and you can still see plenty of paper is showing through, but blending that out with the solvent and then doing a second layer will be more than enough to get that paper covered. And for anybody that doesn't want to use solvent, all you have to do is just keep layering. So if I just stay in one spot and I keep applying my black, eventually I will cover up the paper, and you don't need to use solvent. Hello, Rick. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I teach pastels as well. We're working on a pastel portrait currently also. Very Very fun pastel portrait. We're going to be finishing it up next week, actually. And so I'll probably have time lapse for it, possibly. I don't know. I haven't been recording it, actually, now that I think about it. Alrighty, that's a good layer of the black. So I'm going to just blend it out now. So what I use, also hello Jill, or J Hill. I'm using Zest It, which is technically an odorless mineral spirit in some sense. So I'm just going to blend out this layer of black, give it a minute to dry, and then do another layer. Oh, hey there, Lisa. Good to see you. Rick, are you a member of the art club also? I don't know if you know that I have a website that I have a lot of tutorials, pastel, colored pencil, and stuff. But this here is an art club project that I decided to do a few lessons publicly. Normally the art club lessons are private through my website, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to start this project publicly and just chat with everyone and get the information out there for new people that might come across the content. Hello, Don. Good to see you. Yeah, I have a link in the description for the art club if that interests you at all. I do the live lessons Monday through Thursday at this time, and Monday and Tuesday are pastel lessons, and Wednesday and Thursday are colored pencil lessons. And I do all kinds of subjects. I don't just do portraits. I do landscapes, still lifes, um, pretty much any subject that you can imagine, and all of the projects are your suggestions. So all of the art club members, all of the current members, they recommend, they throw out suggestions, and we spend a lot of time talking about what projects to do next. And I'm actually really excited about the next pastel project that we're going to be starting in a couple weeks. If you're a fan of Owl's Moving Castle, we're going to be doing a screenshot from the movie Owl's Moving Castle, and yeah, I'm super excited about that one. Well, thank you, Don. Appreciate that. All right. Before I attempt to draw any of those circles with my black, I'm just going to take a second to sharpen my pencil, get my pencil nice and sharp for drawing those small details. It still seems a little damp, those areas where I blended the black, so I'm gonna give that another minute. Okay, Ricky, well, you have a lovely day. I appreciate you stopping by. How long have I been doing this? Do you mean how long have I been doing this project, or how long I've been doing tutorials and whatnot? Or how long have I been like drawing or whatnot? Any advice on teaching virtually? Currently teach locally, but summertime is slow and I'm looking for ways to branch out. Oh yeah, absolutely. Teaching online is something that I've been doing exclusively with, I've never taught classroom setting, and teaching virtually is just something that I've been doing for about 5, 6 years now. And I would say the best thing, like, you don't need super fancy camera or lights or anything. You can get a pretty decent camera. The camera that you see here is a Canon Lagria. It's a pretty good camera, but I worked with lower quality camera for a long time. Um, Good lighting. You wanna have nice bright lights. That's something, and then just a nice microphone. And there's a lot of options out there, but really, you know, you you just kind of want to get into it. Um, I have a video that I made a long time ago on live streaming as an artist, and I show you sort of how I have things set up. Though that's not the way that I have things set up right now. Um, if you ever wanted me to sort of help you out on getting things set up as far as like the computer equipment, the lighting, camera, and stuff, you can shoot me an email. Happy to happy to help you get set up if that's something that you want to do. Whether it's live streaming on YouTube or Twitch or whatever type of platform you want. All right, that is dry now. So now what I'm going to do is just draw circles. I'm going to try to find the most identifiable shapes first in the reference photo. Just kind of outline them and then go from there. So the bigger circles, what I'm sort of focused on right now. And then once I have these circles put in, I'll use my lighter colors to add the smaller circles on the outside. Some of the circles don't close. If you look in this area here, some of the circles just don't close at all, and they're sort of just partial shapes. It's kind of like a big white blob shape there in the middle. I can also say that as far as replicating the reference photo, you don't have to be too particular or too precise with your circles. So I would say don't stress much about recreating every individual circle perfectly because it's just there's no point in doing it, and it would just be harder than what you need to what you need to do. Just getting some circles in here, giving it that scaly texture that her headgear has, and then that'll be good enough. It's funny, I used to do doodles like this, drawing little circles when I was younger, like just filling up a page with tiny little circles, or like making shapes and filling them up with little circles like this. I actually have old sketchbooks from when I was like in the 6th, 7th grade, where I just have like pages filled up drawing little circles with like a pen. Not sure what possessed me to do such random stuff, but I remember I used a blue pen on one page, and probably several other pages, but I had like a little box, and I would say the size of the box was maybe like 1/50th of the size of the paper, and I counted 500 circles in that one little box. So there's probably somewhere around 10,000, 15,000 little circles drawn on the entirety of the page. And if you can imagine a 12-year-old having the patience to draw 15,000 circles, filling up a page for really no reason at all, I suppose it's marginally impressive. Just the display of patience from a 12-year-old. All right, so there's the circles on the inner part. I'm just going to quickly do a light layer of black around everything just to make sure it's nice and dark. I don't think I need to blend with solvent again. I think I got it pretty smooth on that first layer. There we go. All right, so I'm going to use the blue, the 1102. I want to fill in some of these circles again a little bit, just bringing out that blue color a bit more. And then I will use this blue right over top of the black, creating little dots. And I'll do some of this also with the green color and also the white for the brighter dots. Some of them are a little bit brighter. I use some of the green color, the 120. Do I believe that expensive materials equals good art? No, absolutely not. I'm using Prismacolor colored pencils. You can find a lot of videos of people talking poorly about Prismacolor colored pencils. In comparison to the professional grade colored pencils like Polychromos or Caran d'Ache Luminance, um, I I only use Prismacolor in spite of owning the other sets of pencils, and I do it because I think that Prismacolor colored pencils are the best entry level colored pencils that you can get. You can oftentimes find the full 150 piece set for right around 100 US dollars, which, that can sound expensive to a lot of people, but when you compare it to the full set of Luminance, which is closer to like 400 US dollars, it definitely stands out as being much more affordable. And you don't have to get the full set. And even the Polychromos pencils, I have 4 tutorials in the art club that we did using only the 12 pack of Polychromos colored pencils. And so you don't even need 100 colors or 50 colors to make good artwork. And you definitely don't need the most expensive materials, because you can give the most expensive products to anybody, but that's not going to make them immediately a better artist. And in most cases, even good artists won't get better simply by changing to a more expensive product. Right, now I'm going to do the same thing with white. I'm going to brighten up some of these circles here. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the tip of the pencil on the paper and I'm just spinning it back and forth to make the really small bright dots. Yeah, I don't recommend using a gel pen in combination with colored pencils. Gel pens are nice for those bright highlights, but they will not, they're non-permanent. The gel pens over top of the waxy colored pencils, eventually it will fall off. And before it will fall off, it will turn yellow. I have some older artwork where I used gel pens. It was back in the day when I didn't know better, and now the white gel pen is yellow, and in most cases it's just fallen off completely. Not a lot of stuff wants to stick to the waxy coating that colored pencils naturally has. So if you want an alternative that is going to work permanently, I recommend the brush and pencil titanium white and touch up texture. Those products, you can Google those products, but you could also just go to the brush and pencil website, and they also you should be able to find it in most online art stores and even some physical art stores depending on your location. Alrighty, well, I think that's good for the texture of the hat. As you can see, got all of those little circles filled in, and it's looking pretty good. One of the other parts that I wanted to work on today was her choker down here at the bottom. Let me just move my paper up a little bit. So very much the same material. This part here is what I wanted to work on today. And then, yeah, and that will do it. I'll do it for today. This part is pretty easy. You can see quite a bit of lines there from the line art. I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to pick up some of the excess graphite. Have I tried the Lux Archival paper? Yes, I have tried the Lux Archival. I did a review of it when it came out. The creator, Aliona Nicholson, we've been friends for several years now. She generally will send me all of her products to do reviews on. Not to say that I'm biased in any way, but I think she makes really great products, and so I've done reviews of all of her products, including her latest book, Colored Pencil Portraits. I did a review of that book as well several years back. But I did, a lot of people were doing reviews on the Lux Archival when it came out, and so I did a review based on pastels, not colored pencils, because a lot of people did reviews based on colored pencils, so I decided to do it based on pastels, and it's a good paper for pastels. I don't use it personally for my pastel work. I still use Pastel Matte, but it is an alternative option. Oh, hey there, Ozzy. Good to see you again. Alrighty, let's see here. I'm gonna just grab the black, and there is this highlight shape right in here that circles about. I'm just gonna outline that. There is a highlight right in here, so again, I'll just circle that. And then everything else can just be filled in black, actually. So quite an easy part of the drawing. And so I'll just do a few layers with the black, blend it with solvent, and then I'll add some of the other colors for those highlights. Appreciate all the questions, by the way, today. I love questions. I always say that I never get enough questions during my live streams, so I always appreciate the questions, and don't feel shy to ask whatever questions you have. Even if you think that it might be a very basic question, sometimes the very basic questions are my favorite, because I like to address everything at all levels. I've been drawing, and I've been teaching for many years now as well, and I never get tired of asking or tired of answering questions that I've answered 100 times before, because at any given moment there is somebody that doesn't know the answer. And I imagine if you're asking the question, you don't know the answer. So I like to give you those answers. How do I prevent or how do I combat the wax bloom? Um, I think that buildup of the wax from the Prismacolors, it pops up. It tends to pop up when you're burnishing. And for those of you that don't know burnishing, it's pretty much just a continued layering process until the paper is completely covered and smooth. If you follow my general rule of never pressing hard, I never ever press hard with my colored pencils or really any pencil for that matter, colored pencils, graphite, anything. And instead, I rely purely on the texture of the paper to capture, hold on to the color. And when you do that, when you let the paper do what the paper's designed to do, then you don't see that wax bloom as you've called it. You don't get that build up. And so a lot of it has to do with that number one rule that I have for colored pencils, and also the paper choice. You'll find that, you know, as you progress with colored pencils and as you gain more experience with them, you'll find a paper that you like and a paper that you don't like, probably several papers that you don't like. But everybody has a personal preference with their paper choice. This is something that I often bring up as well when people ask me like what the best paper is, and that's a very common question. So to avoid that wax bloom, find a paper that works well with the way that you use your pencils. That would be one way to avoid it. The other way would be layer very lightly. Use solvent to blend. You'll find that you have a lot less wax bloom if you're doing light layers and repeated layering and then blending with solvent, because you never really get that thick buildup of the pencil if you layer that way. And then of course the texture of the paper. So paper choice is another way to avoid it. If you're one of those people that sort of has a heavier hand, trust me, a lot of my students have heavier hands, and pretty much everybody has a heavier hand than I do. I have very, very light touch when I'm drawing or writing or anything. And so the heavier your hand, the more texture I recommend with your paper. The paper that I'm using here is definitely one of my up and coming favorites. This is the Lennox 100 paper, and this paper is quite textured. And one of the more textured papers that I've leaned towards, because I've always leaned more towards the smoother papers, but this Lennox 100 paper is really, really great. I'm going to use some of the 1056 now to fill in this. Believe it or not, this is actually a highlight, but it's just slightly brighter than the black, although you can't tell as I'm applying it because I'm just covering up the white. And then here, this little oval shape leans more towards blue highlight, so I'm going to use some of the 1102. This section down here is more pure white, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm actually going to apply some white. Again, make sure the tip is clean. You see that speck on there? That's some of the dark blue and black. And so if I were to color in that white spot right there, I would have potential of smearing some of that black right through there, which I do not want to do. Um, is there a paper other than Stonehenge paper? Is that also hello, by the way, Georgina? Good to see you. Yeah, there's tons and tons of paper that you could use other than Stonehenge paper when using the Prismacolors. I've used many different papers over the years. One of my favorites was always the Stonehenge vellum that they discontinued a couple of years ago, but the Lennox 100 is definitely a top of my list of favorites right now. I've used many different Strathmores. I really like the Strathmore toned papers. The Strathmore multimedia toned papers are really good. I like those ones a lot. So I could recommend those when using Prismacolors. Oh, that's good to hear, Susan. I'm glad you like the Lennox. Yeah, I remember you were waiting on your order of the paper a while back ago. All right, I'm gonna blend out this layer of black here now with my solvent, and then once it dries, I'm just gonna do another layer of black. Two layers was enough on the hat, so I imagine 2 layers of black will be enough down here on the choker necklace thing. Trying to make sure that I got a nice clean edge around her chin jawline. It's probably the more important area. Oh, you've been enjoying the pastel mat? Oh, pastel mat with colored pencils. Yeah, that's another fun one. Yeah, that's a very unique combination. When you use those um, gessoed textured papers like pastel mat or the Lux Archival, like you mentioned before, in combination with colored pencils and solvent, you get a very painted like texture um, from the paper and colored pencil combination. I've done a couple projects with colored pencils on pastel mat, and it is a lot of fun working with those heavy textured papers. Oh, you're welcome, Georgina. Almost done blending this out. For those of you in the art club, Next Wednesday, I think what we'll do is the we'll do the shoulder aspect of her outfit, the shoulder things. I have no idea what to call them. It's not really armor. It's just kind of her outfit, right? I don't think I don't think that whatever these shoulder flap thingies are, I don't think they'd be very protective in battle, so can't really call them armor, but sort of have that armor-like aspect to them. Okie dokie. Gotta give that time to dry before putting on the next layer. I look forward to putting in the bright red of her lipstick. Super, super bright red. And then for her skin, I mean, I was looking at her skin yesterday after I finished streaming, and there's a lot of just like pure white areas of the skin, and there's so much of the white, and it's slowly going into sort of a gray color. I was trying to think of which colors to use for those transitions because they're so subtle. So as simple as her skin actually appears, it's uh, still a unique challenge getting those colors because another part of me, I don't want to leave her skin like pure white. Like for instance, on her cheekbones here, it's just pure white. There's nothing there. It's so bright. Yeah, her eyes too. Her eyes have several colors in them, which will be fun. Once we finish her outfit, we'll probably start on the eyes actually, the eyes and the lips, which is not my usual method for doing portraits, but because all of the skin surrounding her features is just pure white, it sort of just makes sense to put in those dark those dark contrasted parts of her face or parts of her feature anyway. I'm going to sharpen my pencil really quick and then should be dry enough to put the next layer on. All right. While my pencil is still nice and sharp, I'm going to focus up here on her jawline just to make sure I get a nice clean edge. Getting those clean edges is one of the hardest things to do. There we go. And now I'll just do a nice generous layer over everything here. And then should be nice and covered after blending. And then we can just make the small color adjustments like we did on the headgear yesterday, and this part will be complete. And just a quick reminder of everyone, tomorrow at the same time will be the live critiques. So be sure to submit your projects in the Facebook group. And if you're not already a member of the Facebook group, I have a link in the description. And then also another reminder for those of you that may have come in later when I mentioned it, Chrissy from Extra Start is hosting a self-portrait contest. She should have announced it, put a post in the Unmask family Facebook group, but also her own Facebook group. And I'll be judging that competition. She's going to be giving prizes and rewards for that competition. So if you want to join, if I'm not mistaken, it's the end of August, the time frame. So you have till the end of August to submit your portrait. And I'll probably announce more information tomorrow during the live critique session. All right, I'm going to use a little bit more of the 1056 gray right here where that highlight is, just to make sure it's nice and covered. And I'm going to use some of it here in the blue also. And a little bit more of that 1102 blue. Alrighty. And actually the bottom edge of this highlight, I need to add a little bit more black. There we go. Highlight just needed to be a little bit smaller. And now I'll just finish it up with blending. And this should really smooth everything out, make it very, very dark. And then that will finish up today's lesson. So if there's any last questions that you have before I sign off, ask them now. Or I suppose you could ask them tomorrow also, since I'll be streaming tomorrow also. But thank you guys for hanging out and asking questions and all of that. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. if you want more lessons from me, then by all means join the art club, and I look forward to seeing you in those live streams. And if you want to have a look at some of the previous projects that you'll have access to by joining the art club, if you just go over to my website, click on tutorials, you can see all of the projects that we've completed. I think there's around 60, somewhere around 60 projects, all of which have been live streamed and done in real time. So more hours than you can watch in a year, probably, of tutorials and whatnot on all kinds of different subjects. Would it be okay to submit a work in progress for critique? Yeah, sure. Just make sure you mention, just make sure you mention that it's a work in progress so that I don't, tear it apart. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But for sure, if it's a work in progress and you just want some direction to take it or whatnot, some advice on what you need to do next, then by all means you can submit a work in progress. All right, let's zoom out a little bit so you can see what we've completed over the past couple days. So there's the choker bit and the headgear. And then next Wednesday, we're going to be doing the little shoulder decorative pieces. And then I imagine next Thursday, we'll probably get started on the eyes. So that's the progress so far. I think it looks pretty cool. I like this. I like the shiny, leathery look of her outfit, and I think it came together quite nicely. But that is going to do it for today. So again, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see all of you tomorrow for the live critique session. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Peace.